So I'll start with the first thing here. We're at 128 BPM and we have our kick. Now, with this kick, it's a little bit of a different techno kick because this style isn't meant to just be like kind of cookie cutter techno, right? This is like a little bit different, and I was trying to create a little bit of a different groove here and a different feel that these other producers and other tracks just haven't really done yet. And what's happening is basically it's meant to be like this big, almost like a big room type of kick. I'm not ashamed to admit that. But the foundation is still that super punchy, nice, powerful techno kick. So that's what we started with. This is one of mine that I've made through layering and through some multi-band distortion in another track. And then I grabbed this high end, this little like click. Without it. With it. So it just gives you that extra like push. Then the main bass is being made with the serum. And that's just a super simple, just like literally just one note on the upbeats. Now I'm pretty sure this sound is made just using, it's a square wave, a saw wave, and a low pass filter. Very simple, but it just creates this very full bass. And then, so that's like the main groove. And then to contrast that, we have this guy. And so what this guy is it's this little bass pluck patch which I tweaked, and there's some automation on it. And then I have a low pass filter on it as well, kind of making it disappear at the end there. And yeah, so you can hear that like it's just a little bit of a different thing. And when you get that over top of all this other stuff, it grooves really well with the drums, because the drums are really simple. I'll show you the rest of the drums while we're here too, right? Like it's all really just straight 16th notes or straight 8th notes. So then you throw this thing on, and you have so much groove happening. So that really adds a lot to the mix, and it's a very simple layer. And then on the kick group, there's just a high pass filter which comes in and out. So then, moving forward, so then like I said, those were all the drums. You know, again, very straightforward, not super complicated. And that was another thing with the style too, is it's like, I didn't want to have so much like extra background percussion, because it's really about having like these really good synth lines, you know, these really catchy hooks and all that kind of stuff. And then the foundation, like the drums, the kick, and the bass, you don't want that to get in the way. If you try to do too much, it's going to get in the way of all the other cool stuff happening in this track, right? So the next thing to move up to would be the main lead. Which my CPU on this laptop absolutely hates. But here is the MIDI for this. So it's made with 2 layers. I'll show you what it's playing first. So basically the idea behind this is it's kind of like a cross between like cosmic techno and like a big room sort of feel, but like I said, a bit more like cosmic techno, kind of sophisticated, like deeper feeling as well. And where this comes in is we have these like powerful root notes, right? These like really long held out, and like these little 30-second note rhythms as well. But then the way we're going down the scale up here, those voices, that's like what's kind of more like cosmic about it, right? And then we have 2 layers. So, hopefully it's going to let this be heard. We have this one, which you can hear is more of like, you know, it's got that really full thing to it. It's a good saw wave patch inside of Serum, just with like some multi-band distortion. All of these kinds of sounds you can make with saw waves and multi-band distortion, or multi-band compression inside of Serum, excuse me. And then there's this other layer, which, yeah, when you can hear that, you can hear there's a lot more like mid-range. It's not just like that chill, like airy kind of sound. It's a lot more pronounced and in your face. And then when you put these together, that's what creates the magic. So yeah, that's how we created that lead. And then the other thing to this is this send down here. You can see it's got some reverb, and then this OTT, and then a shaper box, which is making it kind of have like that quarter note sidechain pulse, right? And this adds almost another layer over the lead. There's other elements going through this as well, and some of the other synths are going through this. And this send alone Like, yeah, obviously it's getting kind of messed up, but you can hear it just makes this super, like, powerful, full kind of, like, layer over top of everything. And if you're making a track like this and you're having troubles getting it to sound really, really full, try this on your lead. I promise you it's going to sound, like, really big without getting in the way. The best part about this is that you can have this massive, huge reverb layer without it really being so, like, in the way of everything else. And yeah, so that is how we made the lead. On the group, there's a bit of reverb as well, where I've got this like parallel chain here inside of this audio effect rack, and then a shaper box. So then we move up to these synths up here, which starts with a stab. There we are. So you can hear what's happening is we have a progression going on, right? Because there's like, these two are telling their own story. With that chord progression. But then when you drop this big epic rave stab on top, you see it gives you this like really just nice feel to that. So that was the idea with that. It was a new technique I wanted to try. Sounded really cool here. This is just made with Rave Generator also. For these two synths, so the first one is this ARP. Now what's happening is this is playing a chord progression. However, if you looked at these notes, you wouldn't really see the progression. The progression is actually D sharp minor, B major, C sharp major, and then what we're doing is kind of just like accentuating that progression with this ARP while still fitting really nicely into it. And the key to that is, you notice these all change right when the bass notes change. That's how you make that happen. The other thing that's happening here is call and response. The pattern is da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. Right? So that's also making this a very interesting ARP. Instead of just having to go da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like all the way up, it goes da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. Like that. That call and response thing goes a very long way. This one, in terms of the synth sound, so it's this saw wave patch that I tweaked a bunch. And you can see there's a bunch of automation like on the filter cutoff, the frequency of the distortion, even on this envelope, like decay, like you can see at some points it's getting really short and then it opens up. So you can really bring your synth to life. I recommend automating not just like the filters and stuff like that, but also just like the decay and that kind of like little things you wouldn't think to, because it can really bring the sound to life. We have this washout, which is essentially just a reverb with a high pass on it. And then yeah, that's it. And then for the bass, this is also just a simple serum patch. This is just a saw wave with some distortion. Really simple. You don't need a whole lot of extra processing if you just turn it up right. The other stuff we have going in here is this little... You've been hearing that since the intro, so that's just another like kind of saw wave with some multiband distortion or some multiband compression on it before or after the reverb. And also this washout here. See that automation? It's making it like get more washed out and then it starts over. So it's all these little things kind of making these elements work. And then the last synth down here is this horn. Just a nice brrrr. So this is just made with Wavetable. You guys have seen me do this before. It's a saw wave reverb amp to give it that like crunch. Bit of a limiter to bring out the reverb as well. You know, that just fits into the groove pretty nicely.